Gentlemen, if you're over 60, I want you to listen carefully because what I'm about to say may completely change how you understand your body. If you've noticed that your morning strength has quietly faded, if you wake up and things feel inactive, unresponsive, almost disconnected, most men assume one thing. That's it. It's age. But that's not actually what's happening. And this is where most men get it wrong. Because in over 18 years of clinical practice, working with thousands of men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, I've seen something very different. Your body doesn't just stop, it goes silent. I'm Dr. Nova Ellis, and what I'm about to show you today isn't something most doctors take the time to explain. Not because it's complicated, but because it's often overlooked. There are two specific pathways in your body, very real, very physical, that control blood flow and nerve signaling to your lower pelvic region. And when those pathways become inactive, everything changes. But here's the part most men never hear. Inactive does not mean gone. It means unused. Think of it like a room in your home you haven't entered in years. The wiring is still there, the electricity is still running, but the switch hasn't been touched. And over time, you forget the room even exists. That's what's happening inside your body. And once you understand how to flip those switches again, things begin to respond. Naturally. Not through force, not through risky interventions, but through activation. Now, before I show you the first point, there's something you need to understand, because this is where many men make a critical mistake. They focus only on the surface. They think the issue is the organ itself. But function doesn't start there. It starts deeper, at the level of blood flow and nerve communication. And if those signals are weak, delayed, or blocked, nothing responds the way it should. I remember a patient, Robert, 72 years old. He sat across from me and said something I hear more often than you'd think. Doctor, I don't even feel connected to that part of my body anymore. Not pain, not dysfunction in the usual sense. Just absence, like the signal had gone quiet. We didn't start with medication. We started with awareness, with activation. And within 2 weeks, he came back and said something I'll never forget. It's not fully back, but I feel something again. That something is where everything begins. Because once sensation returns, even slightly, the system is waking up. And that brings us to the first point, a place most men never think about. And yet, it sits at the very root of control. It's called the perineum, a small area located between the scrotum and the anus. Now stay with me, because this is where things get interesting. Beneath this small zone lies a network of structures that act like a control center. The pudendal nerve, which carries sensation and signals, and a group of muscles responsible for contraction, blood trapping, and rigidity. In simple terms, this area functions like a valve, and when that valve becomes inactive, everything upstream slows down, blood flow weakens, signals dull, response fades, not because your body can't respond, but because the system isn't being activated. And this is the part no one talks about. Over time, especially with long periods of sitting, reduced movement, or simply lack of awareness, this area becomes quiet, tight, unresponsive, almost like it's been switched off. But here's what I've seen repeatedly. When this point is gently stimulated with the right kind of pressure and relaxation, something begins to change. Men report a subtle warmth, a faint tingling, sometimes even a soft pulse. Those aren't random sensations. That's your neurovascular system reactivating. I had a patient, Thomas, 71, former military, very disciplined, very skeptical. He told me, "Doctor, nothing down there responds anymore. It's like the lights are out." I asked him to do one simple thing. Sit on a soft rolled towel positioned directly under this point. No force, no pressure, just contact, and breathe. Slow, deep, controlled breathing. 5 minutes. That's it. 3 days later, he called my office, not excited, but curious. He said, "I don't know how to explain this, but I felt something. A pulse, like a faint signal." That's how it starts. Not dramatic, but real. And here's where most men make a mistake. They rush it. They apply too much pressure, try to force a reaction. But this system doesn't respond to force. It responds to awareness, to relaxation, to consistent, gentle activation. Because what you're doing here is not stimulating, you're reconnecting. And once that connection begins to return, blood flow improves, signal strength increases, and the body starts remembering what it's designed to do. But this point alone isn't enough. Because even if you open the valve, if the main pathway carrying blood is restricted, the system still won't fully respond. And that brings us to the second point. This one is even more overlooked. And it acts like the main highway delivering everything your body needs. It runs along the inner crease of your thigh, right where your leg meets your lower abdomen. Most men ignore this area completely, but beneath that line sits one of the most important blood routes in your entire body, the femoral artery. This is the main channel delivering blood into your lower region. Alongside it runs the femoral nerve, carrying signals between your brain and your pelvis. Now think about that. If this pathway becomes tight, restricted, or underused, then even if your body wants to respond, it simply doesn't receive enough flow or enough signal to do it properly. And this is the part most men never connect. Years of sitting, reduced movement, tight hips, they slowly compress this pathway. Not enough to cause pain, but enough to reduce function. I remember a patient, Earl, 68, a truck driver for over 30 years. He told me, "My legs are just for walking. I don't see how this has anything to do with anything else." That's a very common belief, and it's completely understandable. But it's also incomplete, because the body doesn't work in isolated parts. It works as a system. So I had him try something simple. Each morning, he would gently trace along the inner thigh crease. No aggressive pressure, just slow, mindful contact. And whenever he found a tight or slightly sensitive spot, he would pause, breathe slowly, and let that area soften. 5 minutes per side, nothing complicated. Within a week, he noticed something unusual, not dramatic, but noticeable. "It feels warmer," he said, "like something is actually moving again." That warmth is circulation improving. That's blood reaching areas it hasn't reached properly in a long time. 2 weeks later, his tone changed completely. "I'm waking up differently." And that shift doesn't just affect the body, it affects identity. Because when a man feels that response return, even slightly, he stops seeing himself as someone who's losing it and starts seeing himself as someone who's still capable. And this is where the 2 points come together. The perineum opens the valve, the inner thigh pathway restores the flow. One controls the signal, the other delivers the supply. And when both are activated together, the system begins to respond again, naturally. But there's something else you need to understand, because even with both points, there's a factor most men completely overlook. And if you miss this part, progress becomes slower or inconsistent. This comes down to circulation chemistry. Specifically, how well your body produces and uses nitric oxide. Think of nitric oxide as a natural signal your body uses to relax blood vessels. When it's present, vessels open, blood flows smoothly, and response becomes easier. When it's low, everything tightens, flow slows down, and signals weaken. Aging doesn't shut things down. It reduces efficiency. Less movement, shallow breathing, higher sugar intake at night. All of these reduce nitric oxide production over time. But here's the good news. You don't need extreme changes to fix this. You need small, consistent adjustments that restore the environment your body already knows how to use. I had a patient, David, 73, very disciplined, ate reasonably well, but he told me, "I'm doing everything right, and still nothing feels consistent." So we changed 3 small habits. First, deep belly breathing. 5 minutes in the morning, slow inhale through the nose, let your abdomen expand, then slow exhale. This increases nitric oxide naturally. Second, morning hydration. 1 glass of warm water right after waking up. After hours of sleep, your blood becomes slightly thicker. Hydration improves flow immediately. Third, reducing sugar at night. Because excess sugar before sleep affects your blood vessels right when your body is supposed to repair and reset. Nighttime is when your system recalibrates. If the environment is off, the signal weakens the next morning. 3 weeks later, David came back, smiled, and said, "It's consistent now. Not perfect, not exaggerated, just reliable." Now, before you start, there's one last mistake I need you to avoid. Men turn this into a test. They try it once or twice, then immediately check for results. And when nothing dramatic happens, they assume it's not working. But this isn't a switch you flip once. It's a system you wake up gradually. Your body doesn't rebuild trust instantly. It responds to consistency, to repetition, to calm, controlled activation over time. I remember Samuel, 76. First week, nothing noticeable. Second week, something feels different. Third week, I woke up and it just happened. That's how the body responds, quietly at first, then more clearly. So here's what I want you to remember. You are not broken. Your body has not failed you. It has simply gone quiet, waiting for the right signal to return. The perineum reactivates the valve. The inner thigh pathway restores the flow. Your breathing supports the chemistry. Your habits maintain the environment. And when all of that comes together, the system remembers. If you're a man who refuses to accept decline as normal, if you still believe your body is capable of responding, then give this 5 minutes each morning. No pressure, no expectations, just awareness and consistency. Because this isn't about chasing something you've lost. It's about reconnecting to something that's still there. If this spoke to you, subscribe. Not for me, but for yourself. Because what we're building here isn't quick fixes. It's understanding. And that takes time. I'm Dr. Nova Ellis, and your body is still listening. You just have to start speaking to it again.